Evening guys, hope you're all doing well. So tonight's video is an unfortunate one. If you guys have seen my previous video this morning, I highlighted the current HU tobacco situation and their merger with COP and how that's a great thing from a distribution point of view. You might even see them in the UK. But I did say that I was skeptical what will happen with the Dan tobacco blends, because if some people might not know, but that from the very start, HU used both Carl House and Cop and Dan Tobacco. As you can see in front of you, these are a list of the blends that Dan Tobacco made for HU. And this was posted directly by Hans Wiedemann. And if you can look at the post, it's a little bit, the start of it is a bit jumbled up, but that's because of course he's German and this was automatically translated, so the translation is not perfect, but you can get the gist that essentially that is a list of all the tobaccos that will no longer be produced by HU. And of course what's significant about that is all those blends are made by Dan Tobacco. And essentially I've kind of did some more research on his personal page, and he essentially says that he really didn't want to cut ties with Dan Tobacco for no other choice than he needed a permanent partner to essentially handle not only all of the tobacco manufacturing under one roof, but also all of the distribution, which is why essentially he's gone with COP. But unfortunately, it is a big shame. As you can see by the word he used, horror. There's a lot of people. Some of these blends in front of you are some of your favourites. As you may know, the top 5, Dot Worker, Flanagan, Haymaker, Sunset and Tillerman, are my 5 top HU blends. In particular, Dot Worker, Haymaker and Sunset are in my top 10 tobaccos of all time. And unfortunately what else he has said is he said directly that he won't be reproducing these blends under COP, which I can understand, because again, of course you can, he's the one that comes up with the recipes and he blends them, but at the end of the day, COP and Dan Tobacco use very different processes to process their tobacco. The machinery they use is different, but also the tobacco that they source is different. And he said that, of course, under COP, he could try to recreate these blends and they'd be close, but he essentially has said that they would never be the exact same blends. So that's why the above list that you can see has been discontinued. I imagine we'll probably see one day similar blends that are made by COP, but of course they won't be the same as the Dan Tobacco variants. It's the same as, if you look back in history over the last 25, 30 years, 40 years even, if you think about all the different manufacturers that have taken over the Dunhill blends, or Escudo for example, they've had different iterations. It's the same blend, but it's just been made by different manufacturers, and every time it changes manufacturer, it slightly changes in the way it looks sometimes, but also, but in particular, the way it tastes. So you can never say never. Eventually, you might see some of these blends back under COP, but of course, the blends as we know them won't be the same, unfortunately. So yeah, it's a bit of a bummer, but in the grand scheme of things, for HU itself, it's a fantastic thing, because they'll be under one roof, which will cover all the distribution, to where I imagine the main goal for him was you'll be able to see these blends in America, possibly even in the UK. I imagine the American market is the biggest attract, and I can imagine HU will do very well in America. But it would be great to see them imported into the UK, especially as our tobacco choice these days is getting smaller and smaller each year. So to have someone like HU come into the UK would be fantastic. But of course, that being said, it is a bit of a downer for me personally, because those top 5 blends are literally some of my favourite tobaccos. I would argue Dot Worker is, in this last year, it's probably been in my top 3 blends. It really is a favourite of mine. Thankfully, I do have a small cellar of them all. Of course, I wish I had a lot more. As again, I've went on to check, and the places that do stock these blends are either sold out of all of them, or have sold out of quite a few of them. I wish I kind of cottoned on to his post directly sooner. I did see, I think it was towards the start of last week, that the merger had essentially taken place. But I hadn't seen this post directly by him confirming what I thought, that the Dan Tobacco portion of the blends he produced will no longer be produced and are now discontinued. So yeah, that's kind of part 2 of this morning's video. Must only be about 12 hours apart, but obviously there's a big difference from me questioning will we possibly see the Dan Tobacco blends to now me confirming that they are being discontinued. But yeah, that being said, hope you guys take care. Have a good rest of your week. Cheers.